What's going on, everybody? What is going on? Unexpected but special live stream that we are doing today. I have a special guest on the channel. First time on the Taurean Reign in real time channel. Gonna be talking. Sorry about that. To mute my other mic, but um, first time being on this particular channel, going live and everything like that. Of course, everybody already knows who this person is. They don't really need an introduction. But we're going to be here talking about this Buckbreaking documentary. Let's see, who do we have here in the room so far? Dee Dee, Wayne, Mark, Joseph, Jennifer, Brother Sly, Mike, Pinky, JYB. The My Voice channel was going on. Now, I'll understand if it's not going to be a lot of people here today because it is like literally the middle of the day on a Wednesday. And that's not usually the time I usually go live. It's usually always on a Friday. But as y'all know, I won't be able to go live this particular Friday because I will be out of town. Otherwise, I would have saved this particular stream for Friday at the usual time that I do it. But, there's always something called a playback, so you can always catch it then. But before I actually bring the guest on, let me just say that, yes, we will be talking about this documentary. And if you have not watched it yet, there will be spoilers. So if you do plan on watching the Buckbreaking documentary / film, I would highly suggest that if you have not done so already to bypass this stream, and then you can come back and look and see what we talked about and discussed and add your 2 cents in the comment section of the video. So without further ado, I'm going to bring the guest in. She just came in about 2 minutes ago. I wanted to wait until she got in before I actually went live. So with that being said,
Hey, hey, I'm all in my phone. Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you doing, Taurean? Thank you for the
I am.
invite.
Oh, no problem, no problem. To be honest, I actually, when I found out, about this documentary, you were actually one of the first people that I wanted to have this discussion with, to talk about this. Like, you were the first one that came to mind. And when I saw that you had the DVD, I said, perfect. Now,
Yeah.
with me in my situation, I thought I didn't have a DVD player. And then I looked around and I actually found one. And it was within my Xbox 360 that I
Yeah.
wasn't using anymore. And then I ended up ordering the DVD on Amazon, and lo and
Yeah.
behold, very next day, Tariq posted on his Instagram that it was on streaming. So what I did was, because I had to get some maintenance done to my car a couple days ago, and I just rented it for $17 because, since I had the DVD copy, I didn't need to buy it. So, and
Right.
I ended up watching the whole thing right there while I was waiting on my car to be serviced. And let me tell you something, that has to be one of the most powerful documentaries I have ever watched in my life from anybody. And I've watched a lot of documentaries over the years. And that one right there was just such a masterpiece. Many are saying, and I have to agree, that this might be better than his entire Hidden Color series so far.
Yes. Yes. First of all, thank you for inviting me today once again. Shout out to the chat room. Thank you all so much. I must say, this is very much worth it. It's well worth it. It's worth having an actual copy. I was just finishing up. I'm on the last 20 minutes of it, but I've seen the majority of it. I must say, I think this is Tariq's best work. Not to say that his other works are not great, but this one right here, I love the way he narrated it. I like that. I like the imagery. I like seeing the scholars, the activists, and whatnot in this film. I just thought it was amazing from top to bottom, and just going through the history from Roman times to now and how he interweaved it. It was just great to see, and it's just like, wow, I see it. And some people who may be LGBT, some people who will see the cover and immediately become offended and think it's going to be some sort of bash hate project against gay people. They obviously have not seen the film, because that is not what it is. It just shows the history and how it relates to the now. And I think Tariq did a fantastic job with it. And everyone that was involved, they were great.
Most definitely. And going back to what you were saying, a lot of people will like look at the cover and they hear the term bug breaking, and we already heard the terminology before. But what I liked about this documentary is they literally broke down bug breaking to its simplest forms. Because I was saying on Twitter, when I had briefly gave my spiel about it, I said I didn't know it was that many forms of bug breaking out there, and it's a lot of
Yes.
forms out there, like from of course, the ones that we know, from slavery, but it
Mm-hmm.
literally has a historical, like a page turning type of event. Like they could probably write a whole book about bug breaking and what they used it from its origin all the way
Right.
through now. Like now they don't have to do it like they did back on the plantation. They do it in other forms.
Correct.
And it's crazy. I just did a video on my channel about Dwayne Wade recently, and how he was saying he felt like he was below the dogs in his home, and he was like the last in line in his home, and that high priestess which he married is the one who wears the pants in the family. I said that right there is a form of buck breaking.
Yes, it is. It is. And that's what I liked about this as well. It's not just, and how some of the scholars mentioned, I can't remember her name right now. She was saying how buck breaking isn't just about sex, it can be breaking the spirit. They were talking about hair, how they would cut our
Mhm.
hair off.
Yeah.
That's another form to dehumanize us, to make us feel less than. And I thought that was really well, and why people shouldn't be so quick to just dismiss this as some, oh, it's just going to be some hate
Mhm.
documentary about gay people, and that's not what it is at all. I would advise gay people to watch it. I would advise
Yeah.
anybody to watch it, honestly, because you get a
Mhm.
historical context of buck breaking in its full totality. It's not just about what happened to us during slavery, but it just
Mhm.
continues on in many different forms of being buck broken.
Yeah. And like one thing I like about Tariq's documentaries in particular is that he has like those documentaries that if you sit there and you like start watching it, like you become laser focused. You can't really
Yeah.
focus on anything. Like you could probably be cooking something and the stove starts to turn on, like be on fire, and you still looking at the screen, knowing
Right.
that your stove is on fire. But you get glued in and you just kind of get laser focused into what they're talking about. One thing I really liked is the panel of people that he chose to speak
Yes.
on this topic. Like he knows how to really pick people who are well versed in the topics that he wants to discuss, and how to convey their message, which of course helps guide the story along. So that's
Mhm.
definitely, like a major plus when it comes to something like this, because this is a very heavy topic. This is
It
something
is.
that many people in our community do not like to talk about, because it always goes back to, like you said, is alleged bashing of the academy, as I like to call it. But this
Mhm.
right here, it touches, of course, on that, but it doesn't stay on that. It
Right.
doesn't stay on that. As a matter of fact, the part where they talked about the academy literally didn't even phase me more than what the other stuff did. Like not by
Right.
far. Because it's like
No.
with that, it's like with that you kind of know, but with the other
Mhm.
stuff, that's right there is what grabbed my attention, which is why I said on Twitter I didn't know it was that many forms of bug breaking, because bug breaking was more than just physical; it was also mental and psychological. That's why I always
Emotion.
said that's why I was and emotional. That's why I always said that that psychological and mental slavery or mental enslavement will always reign supreme over physical. You can heal from the physical scars, but mentally, if you can get in someone's head, they'll stay there forever.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. And that's what I took away from it. When you really think about this topic in itself, a lot of it is mental conditioning to make us
Mm-hmm.
feel less than human. That's
Yeah.
the main thing I took away from this, is like, we can break free of this. We don't have to stand for this. And I'm towards the end. It's like, it's what, almost like 2.5 hours, but he broke it up into like chapters. I think I'm on like chapter 6, and how he
Yeah.
just broke it down, and how we can fight against this,
Mm-hmm.
ways how we can become the media. This is why I like
Exactly.
the fact that we're on YouTube and other avenues, and we're saying, no, we're going to be pushing back against this, because I don't like this. And I think that's one major way to take control of the narrative and help to stop this buck breaking. Literally, you can say
Mm-hmm.
we're buck broken psychologically. I mean, just the things that we intake and believe on a daily basis. So it can
Exactly.
be, like you said, many different ways. It's not just sexual, which is why everyone should watch this.
Oh, most definitely. Everybody should definitely check this out and don't shun it just because it says bug breaking, because like I said, it doesn't just
Mm-hmm.
focus just on that aspect of it, which people really think it does. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, that has to be, it's a topic of discussion, but of course, when people become uncomfortable about something like that, that just means it's probably a layer of truth there that they haven't peeled back, that they don't want to reveal or they don't
Right.
want to see. And it's crazy because when you think of bug breaking, two things just recently happened, and it's crazy how it happened right around the time of the DVD being released in the streaming. Have you
Mm-hmm.
seen what happened recently? What they did with the Lego set?
Yes, I saw
You
that.
know,
I saw that.
yeah. In case y'all don't know, in the chat with Legos, they literally, because quote unquote Pride Month is in June or coming up,
Right.
and they released a LGBT based Lego set where the picture has the Legos. It looks like it looks like a fountain, and it has all
Mm-hmm.
the colors of the rainbow going down like a stream. And of
Yep.
course, they incorporated the black and brown one in the front, what with the other colors of the rainbow going all the way down. And then if you notice, they had a black female figurine right there in the front.
Yeah. Yep. That's
And
another
then
thing they touched on.
yeah, and that right there is the indoctrination of children without saying that it's about children. Because with
Mm-hmm.
Legos, you think of kids, especially
Right.
boys, playing with Lego sets. Because I know when I was younger, when I played with Legos, we just had the blocks and everything like that. We didn't.
Right.
There was, because shout out to the Crimson Cure, because she actually did a very phenomenal video about this the other day. There's
Mm-hmm.
no that we when we were kids, we did not have to worry about agendas with our toys. We just
Right.
got the toy and played with the toy.
Right.
And you didn't have to worry about there being a lesson to be taught and everything like that with a toy attached. The other thing
Mm-hmm.
they just recently did, and you probably saw this too, what they just did with the cereal. I think
Yeah.
it's Kellogg with Kellogg's. They took
Right.
like Tony the Tiger, Toucan Sam, all the little mascots, and put them all on a cereal box, and basically is a pride based cereal that they just kind of jumbled them all together and talking about awesome pride or something like that. So now, like I said, it's going down to getting after the children. And it's
Right.
basically saying, oh, well, we can't, we may not be able to physically come and get your kids, but we'll find a way to get to them without actually getting them.
Right. Right. And they talked about that in the documentary as well, how it's just becoming kind of slowly entering through just pop culture, toys, cereal,
Mm-hmm.
food, how they're being very conniving with it. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
something that you have to look at. It's just like, you don't see no Black Lives Matter cereal,
Right.
even though it's out there, but you don't see it, you're not
Mm-hmm.
seeing anything like that. So I think it's very important that, yeah, it's true. We see it every day. You can't deny it. It's right in your face.
Yeah, exactly. It's right there in your face. Like no more are they actually keeping this under wraps. They're literally putting it in your face and then get mad if you call it what it is, which is an agenda. Like it really is an agenda playing out in front of our eyes. Like
Mhm.
the thing is, this wasn't an overnight thing. They had been cooking this up for years.
For years. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even realize how a lot of these people we study about throughout history and how a lot of them are were gay, even though,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it shouldn't matter. But at the end of the day, it does, because we know that there was, like you said, an agenda to,
Mm-hmm.
make this okay, to keep pushing it on us. And if they can push it on us, and we accept it, then the whole rest of the world will, kind of taking social cues, as they
Mm-hmm.
said in the documentary. So I
Yeah.
think it's, very vital that this came when it did. Like I said, this is not to denigrate, to attack, LGBT people. I have people that I know personally that are friends and, love them to
Mm-hmm.
death. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I can't sit back and just pretend like, oh, this is okay,
Mm-hmm.
letting kids do these things. And as I was talking about
Mm.
last night on my live stream, the whole kids encouraging kids if they want to be transgender at the age of 10 or 11, I just think that's
Yeah.
doing too much. That's doing
Yeah.
too much on a body that is changing constantly up to the age of 25. Your brain isn't even fully formed until you're 25 years old. So I think it's something very insidious about this. So yeah, it
Yeah.
should be talked about, and it should not be attacked. We should not be attacked just for talking about this.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Hmm.
then it's like, they'll try to make it seem like we're being against them. No, it's actually just putting out the facts, like putting out there what we know to be true. And you feel attacked because you know it's true. That the saying goes, the truth hurts.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And the thing is, we as black people, we have been always hit over the head with so much stuff over the years. A lot of times, most of it being lies anyway. But
Right.
and we have to learn how to deal with it, but also find out what the underlying truth really is. So if we
Hmm.
have to get hit hard over the head about this all the time, then what makes you think you're exempt?
Right.
Nobody is exempt from it, or any of this for that matter. So it is what it is. But
Right.
now that we pretty much got our prelude out of the way,
Hmm.
we can just get into some things that we saw in the documentary that really stuck out to us, because that's really what we're here to talk about. Because in my opinion, this documentary was flawless. Like,
Yes.
I don't have one critique
Right.
about it at all. Like, I don't have one bad thing to say about it.
It could have been
Um,
3 hours. I'd say that. I mean,
right,
that's on the
yeah,
critique. We could have went on and on and
exactly.
on.
I think somebody in there said that there needs to be more parts to it, and it
Yeah.
probably will, because it's definitely something that's an ongoing discussion, and that's really what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about having a dialogue and having a
Right.
discussion about this particular topic that's affecting our community in particular, because
Right.
that bug breaking topic definitely heavily affects us. One thing that stuck out to me in the documentary, which was early on, was when
Hmm.
they were talking about the religions, and how
Yeah.
about how with white people, they literally have a whole religion, or had one, that was based on bisexuality. Like,
Right.
they actually had what they call bisexual gods, like,
Right.
literally, and you can see it in the paintings and
Yep.
stuff like that.
And the
Like, they had a whole,
statues
like,
and everything.
exactly,
Yeah.
you have a whole, like, yeah, like, you had a whole religion around that.
Right. It was mind blowing. I'm like, man, you would like, growing up, you would see these statues and stuff. You're like, what is this? Why is this man here and he has a teeny tiny penis? Like, we don't get that,
Yeah.
But when I see butt breaking, it's like, oh, that's why.
Hmm.
It makes sense,
Yeah.
and it's wild. It's wild. That whole era right there. I have to go back and watch that, because honestly, it was so much to take in at once. But yeah, that is wild, and
Hmm.
it's like none of this is actually new. It's
Yeah.
just updated, as they said in the documentary,
Exactly.
for the
Just like,
times.
and also, something else that stuck out to me was when they were talking about the Pope and how he would look out the window and see the obelisk, and the obelisk was supposed to represent the phallus of a black man.
Right.
So it's like, literally, when you're looking out the window every day, you're looking at something you're envious of. Like, that's why that's crazy when you think
It
about it.
is. It really is, and it just, like I said, that part alone, I want to just focus on that part, because it just felt like it was so much information, excuse me, and I'm just like, I have to soak this in. But yeah, that part stuck out to me. Another part that stuck out to me was when Dr. Randy Short was talking about how the black community is labeled homophobic, like they like to put that title on us. But
Hmm.
when you look at, stories like the Pulse shooting, who did
Hmm.
that? Like
Yep.
Jeffrey Dahmer killing
Mm.
black men, minorities. When
Mm.
what was the other one? And he talked about one case out of Louisiana. I did not know about this. How this one white man went around and killed like 20 plus, 27 plus men,
Hmm.
LGBT.
Oh
I've
yeah,
never
that
heard
one.
that
Yeah,
case.
I mean, neither. I didn't hear about that one. I saw that. Yeah, I did see that, and most of the men were black. When we saw
Yeah.
the lineup of the pictures of the victims, like, most of them were black. Of course, they put Ed Buck in there. I'm glad they
Yep.
mentioned, Ed Buck in there. They mentioned about Matthew Shepard, because
Yep.
he was the white boy he was killed by other white boys. So I'm glad that they put that in there, because they don't talk about that. Most times the furthest they'll go is Jeffrey Dahmer, because his case was so gruesome. But
Right.
yeah, like they said, there was so many more out there
Yeah.
that happened. But one thing that really stuck out to me when they were talking about that sector was what really happened at Stonewall, because they
Right.
bastardized the hell out of that story. What
Yes.
really, for those in the chat who may be watching, in the documentary, they actually break down what really occurred at Stonewall. Because when it comes to Stonewall, that's a huge part of the Academy puzzle. that they talk about, but they don't really go to the root of what really occurred there. And basically they were saying how a lot of the cops that would come there to get drugs themselves, but it wasn't until the black people who were gay or lived that lifestyle were there, that's when they decided to raid it. So then that's when it became more of a race thing.
Right, right. So it wasn't even about necessarily them being gay, but it was about, you know, corruption, selling drugs and not getting in on it. And then they see more black men there or black people, period. And then that's when it became, oh, okay, so we just gonna come mess with y'all. We see some Negroes over here. And that's what it became. And they were fighting back against them. It had nothing to do with actual, you know what I'm saying, LGBT. It was just, you know, corruption. Police corruption, just like you'd see anywhere else.
Right.
And black people weren't caught up in it.
Exactly. For those of you who asking in the chat, where's the documentary at? You can go to buckbreakingmovie.com, and that's where you can go ahead and stream the movie, or you can buy the physical copy like Nicole has in her hand right there. It's on Amazon as well as on the buckbreakingmovie.com website. Yes. And you can go ahead and watch it.
Yes, but I would definitely say still get the DVD, even if you don't have a DVD player. Find a little DVD player somewhere. Order one through maybe Amazon. You can find one, you know, or if you have video game consoles like 360 and all that stuff, you can watch it on there.
Right. One thing you was talking about, you had mentioned about the hair. Now I have done quite a few. We have done quite a few hair commentaries here on YouTube. I just recently did one about this cop down in Texas who he literally got a whole internal affairs investigation brought up on him because he had his hair in cornrows that were neat. And, you know, we've heard so many stories where it comes to cases where men, women, and children have been literally chastised because of how their hair naturally grows out of their head. And that's a form of buck breaking too, because they break that down because they don't like how your hair grows. But then if they can find a way to formalize it to make their hair look like that, then it's okay. And then, you know, that also for the kids, that's like the school to prison pipeline. Kids have actually gotten kicked out of school because of how they wore their hair. I'll never forget, I saw a story about a boy, I think he was 5 years old, maybe 6, who had a part, like a simple part in his head that went from the front of his head and it wrapped kind of around to the mid back of his head. They actually removed him from school because they said he looked like he was gang affiliated.
Yeah. I mean, still to this day, buck breaking, you know, buck breaking your spirit, buck breaking the fact that, you know, and I liked how they talked about with the locks going back to Africa and how, you know, the man with the longest locks, how it meant strength and all that kind of stuff. And that's the whole point of it. That's the whole point, to break your spirit, to break that strength, to make you angry and mad. And, you know, it's to feel dominated, and they feel dominated when they do that. You know, remember the wrestler in New Jersey? They made him have his hair cut.
That Lisa just recently did one about a softball player down in, I think, North Carolina, who they literally made her cut her braids out of her hair while we're literally halfway through the game.
Yeah. They're still doing it. They're still doing it.
The fact that they have to put a whole bill on the books to have people dealt with if you get discriminated against your hair in 2021. Nobody, just us.
Who else on the face of the planet has to have a bill simply for our hair to be protected? Our hair. You know how insane that is? And then you have people tell us they can't do anything for us. There's no bills they can't do. Are you kidding me? This is insanity.
I said, should we actually get reparations? That's a huge case right there. Because your hair should not determine your work ethic. Like, if you do the work and you are a good worker and you're just a, you know, overall good person, what does my hair and how it looks have anything to do with that? Like, that's like I said, it goes back to jealousy and envy at that point. And the thing is and notice every time whenever a black person gets reprimanded for their hair, they always go back to, oh, it's against the dress code policy. I could have sworn dress code policy was about your clothes.
Right. Exactly. What does that have to do? As long as there's no animals or ticks jump out of my head, and we don't have that for the most part, what does it matter to you? How is it harming you?
Meanwhile, there was a story that came out about a girl who died from basically having serial lice infestation. Like I
That's
didn't even
what
know
you
you.
should be concerned about.
I didn't even know you could die from that. But then
That's
again,
crazy.
I never had lice, so you know. But you know, that's when Lisa did that video, I was like, someone actually died from that. I said, I didn't know you could die from that.
Yep. Shout out to Lisa. If anybody is going to know those type of stories, Lisa's
Right.
going to know.
When
Shout
I
out to our
saw that,
sister.
when I saw that, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I said,
Yep.
"I did not know someone could actually die from that." But I was like, "You learn something new every day."
Every day, every day. While you're concerned about if I have my hair in braids, dreads, an afro, you have people, your people are dying from, having whatever in their head. This is insane to me.
Yeah, it
It's
really
insane.
is.
It's insane.
Yeah,
Excuses.
and something else that I saw was about. I think this was also in Louisiana about that white woman. I forgot what Teresa said her name was. The one who like literally was torturing the people in the
Yeah.
house. That story right there was crazy. They said so crazy, in fact, that even white people was mad at her and actually burnt the house. And they said people for years did not go in the house. They didn't put the house up for sale because they felt it was haunted by spirits. Like they said, like they literally said initially that story became so traumatizing for people that it literally became like a haunted house that no one would dare set foot in. So you can
Mm.
just, so it was like this woman's house of horrors, and this was
Yeah.
a white woman, y'all.
White
So
woman
like
doing
when
this.
when people say that, you know, white women are some of the worst ones when it comes to how they deal with black people, especially back then, believe them. If they said label this house haunted from the stuff that she single-handedly did on her own. And Teresa said the way that they got found out was because one of the victims jumped out of the window and killed herself. And
Mm.
that's how the story um gained traction, and that's what led to the house being set on fire, and then you know they eventually killed her. So if
Yeah.
it was that bad where other white people was against her, then you know she was brutally evil.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm surprised. Maybe one day someone will have the guts to probably even do a movie about it. But I don't even know how
Yeah,
you could do it because it probably would be
right.
so graphic. You probably couldn't even have it shown in a theater or wherever. But it would
Yeah.
be interesting to see that because this is the history that needs to be told. See, this is the history that these schools, especially here in Texas, they don't want you talking about it. But you know
Oh
what?
yeah.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
I
We're
know
in
how
a
you gonna
digital
do.
age. That's not gonna fly.
Exactly. Like, you know, like your governor down there. I don't know how y'all deal with him or the lieutenant governor. Hold on right quick. Hold on right quick.
Oh, no problem. Shout out to the chat room. Yes. Yeah, yep. Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Yeah, yeah, y'all got to go to buckbreaking.com. Go support Tariq and everyone that was a part of this buckbreaking.com. Well done. Well done. Well done. I'm proud of Tariq for making this for us because we need this history. It's just every day I feel like I learn so much from people like him. It's godsend. I'm just so happy that we have those out there that will, talk about this stuff because they want to hide it. They want to hide it as much as possible, and we can't allow them to do that. We have to take back the narrative. We have what is it? The Tulsa riots, murders. That's coming up 100 years. So I saw the History Channel. I saw CNN. They're going to be doing specials about it. But yeah, I would like to see us do them too. But it's something to marvel at. I don't care what you may think of Tyreek or any of our people that make these documentaries and movies like Jason Black and his documentaries. We have to support them. We have to, because it's the things the things I didn't learn. I didn't learn any of this in school. I'm sure you guys didn't learn any of this, growing up. Like I said, unless you had a parent or a teacher or someone that could teach you all this, we didn't know this stuff. Oh, hey, Torian, I'm just carrying on your show for you.
I know you good. Yeah, you good. I had ordered some food, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, where was we at?
We were at where were we at? I think we were talking about the lady that
Oh yeah, the lady.
brutal.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We talking about her, but like I said, that goes back to like I said when people were saying that like white women were some of the most wicked people during that time period. Like
Hmm.
that's why they said some of the slave masters even didn't even want. They were fearful of leaving their slaves to them because
Right.
they knew how they could be. Because they didn't really have that much control. But when they got control, they went buck wild, and we can see how many of them were. One thing that I saw in there, it kind of got spoiled for me, so I knew it was coming, but I didn't know when it was going to happen. Was when they showed the penises in the jar. The when they would castrate the men, they actually showed the picture of one in a jar. Like we always heard stories about it, but we never saw pictures. In this movie, you actually see one in a jar that was castrated off of a black man and put onto whatever mantle it was to be marveled at
Mm,
by these monsters.
mm. Torian, and there will be people who will tell you to your face, reparations, which y'all need reparations for. They'll tell you with a straight face that our people, especially foundational Black Americans, don't deserve reparations.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's mind boggling. I was visiting my grandmother back home in Lubbock, and I've tried to talk to her before. And for whatever reason, this weekend when I went to finally go see her, she just started talking, and I just pressed record, and she was just like, "Yeah, we lived in High Banks, Texas, and my mom, my grandmother, we used to work on this farm." And I said, "What?" And I'm like, "Tell," and we had to escape, and we ended up. My mom sent for us to come to Lubbock, and this was in the damn 30s, 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So they were still had our people working like slaves. And
Mm-hmm. I've
slavery
heard
was supposed
stories
to
like
be
that.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know for a fact, and I said, my God, let me get this on I have it. I said, because if something happened to my grandmother, that's it. That she's the last living elderly person in my life that I have that connection with.
Mm-hmm.
And they will tell you to your face, we don't deserve reparations. And then you
Yeah.
see buck breaking. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is why they don't want us having nothing. This is why they shut up. No more critical race theory. We're going to get rid of it because they know
Yeah.
it's owed to us. They know it.
Mm-hmm. And then you got like recently now down, of course, in Texas, where they said that they are banning the talk about white supremacy in schools, as if they really touched on it to begin with. I mean, look at the stuff that they teach during Black History Month. So I already know they really don't touch on it like that. But the thing is, that's a pointless bill because thanks to the internet, which I'm sure they're busy trying to regulate or are regulating, you can get all that information outside of the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we don't need them. They can. That's why I said on one of my live streams, pass your little funky bills. It doesn't matter. We live in the digital age. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not lazy, you can go on Google. You can go pick up documentaries like Tariq's or Jason's. You can go pick out books by all the scholars out there, Black scholars. We don't
Mm-hmm.
need you. And this is why it's so important that we have something like this digital. So for maybe there may be people who don't like to read. You can say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, I can just go pick up the Hidden Color series. I can go pick up Buckbreaking. I don't need the school system because I've learned
Mm-hmm.
more through these type of documentaries and books and whatnot than I ever did in school, ever.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
let them.
Yeah, and you can. Yeah, and that's all your governor's doing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call
yeah,
them wheels because I swear
right.
I did not know up until a couple months ago that man was in a wheelchair.
Yes. My mom like somebody just go like mom.
I said that would. I said that would explain all the close-up shots, because when there's a lot of people standing at the podium, they'll do some
Yeah.
wide shots. But with him, they're always close up on. I said, so now that's why he in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, your governor's son and your lieutenant governor, he ain't no better.
He ain't
Uh,
no
he's
better.
he's no better. But yeah, what else happened? Oh, the part where they were talking about they would make the slave boys dress up, put on dresses.
Yes.
Like they actually show where they would have them dress up like girls. Like you actually had at one point where some black men, they would dress up in drag. So people who think drag is something, or dressing in drag is something that happened like maybe say like the 50s, no, that goes way
Way,
back,
way back.
way back. And they were saying how a lot of the like black men would dress up in drag or as women to not seem threatening, or
Right.
to maybe escape from something or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Because there was one in particular, I forgot what his name was. I think his name was Pete something. Tariq said his name, who was a famous quote unquote drag queen, who was a black
Mm-hmm.
man who literally was going around finessing a lot of white men,
Yeah.
until he got found out.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's
so he
that's
was like,
wild.
yeah, so that whole drag or dressing in drag has a long history, and they talked about that briefly in this documentary.
Yeah, yeah. That's what's so crazy about it. All the things that we think, oh, is current, is new. It's just this stuff has been around forever and ever. It's just been
Hmm.
updated. That's all. You know,
Yeah.
drag queens, drag and transgender, the whole transgender thing, that
Yeah.
too.
Hmm. Yep,
That's
they talked about
yeah,
that too.
yeah,
And
yeah. And
also,
how
and also go back to the hair. How they would talk about with the women, they were saying how the white women would get jealous of the women because of their natural hair, and they would say that was going to attract white men away from them. So that's why women wore the wraps and stuff like that, so they would not look as attractive. But they said even that didn't work, because they said those white men still were pursuing those black women because it wasn't about their hair, it was about their face. And the thing is, you couldn't cover up their face, so they said white women started to wear those little things that they tied around their neck that look like a hat, and that's why they wore
yeah,
those big things under their dresses, because it made them look like they were curvy when they really weren't, because they were trying to and it looked ridiculous. And when you look at what it looked like a
yeah,
cage. It looked like a
yeah.
cage with a dress over it. And so they would wear that because they felt that's what would attract their men away from black women. But what it really was is it wasn't their shape or anything like that. In other words, you know how they always say that black women are undesirable. When you look at this documentary, you will find out otherwise, that black women were always desired. It's just that they were desired in a more, how can I put it, in a more deviant way, but
Right,
to be used more as a sex object more than a person to be desired in a more intimate way, especially when it
right.
came to, to mass and everything like that. And quiet as it's kept, that's how he saw the black boys and men as well.
Correct, correct. Because just think about it. There's this thing that, us as black people, we were property, right? So to know that, oh, I can do whatever I want with this property,
Hmm.
and it becomes like some sick, twisted sexual thing, Like now I can go get this black woman and I can do whatever I want to her under the, at night when maybe the wife is asleep, and I can go in her room and rape her and do it, whatever I want
Hmm.
to do to her,
Hmm.
So it's wild. It's wild. And when I saw that part, I was like, wow, so that's why they wore their clothes like that. That's why they had the hat on and all that,
Hmm.
And even
It
through
was an
all
envy
that,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
even through
it
all
was
that,
an
still
envy thing.
envy.
Yeah, like I don't know if you were, I don't remember. You saw that movie 12 Years a Slave, right?
I never saw 12 Years a Slave. Never saw it.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, it was, and I don't mean to spoil it, but it was one scene in there with Lupita's character, because she was in the movie. That was actually her first major role.
Mm-hmm.
Where they wanted these slaves to come in and entertain the plantation owners, like at a dinner
Mm-hmm.
party or something like that.
Right.
And Lupita's character, she was one of the more desired slave women by
Mm-hmm.
Michael Fassbender's character, who was like the main master over that plantation at the time.
Right.
And she, she came in and she did like a dance, like a little dance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the mistress looked over at her husband and saw how he was like looking at her in a very desirable way, as if he could, he would have like snatched her up right there and just took her up to the room and had his way with her. And she looked
Wow.
over back at Lupita's character. She grabbed this glass ashtray and threw it at her face.
Wow. Wow. And I think that's another thing they don't explore a lot is how when Black slaves, how they were treated from the wives or the mistress, whoever, how they were treated. And I think that doesn't get talked about a lot. It's very deep when you think about it. It's just like, I'm sure they probably did all sorts of sadistic things to these women. What are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? You have them as your property, as your slaves. They can't help who they are, what their body looks like, you know, and don't get mad at them because your man raped them. Like, get mad at your man. You know, it's just crazy to me. This is the environment you fostered. This is what y'all did to us. So how dare you try to beat the Black woman? And that's not talked about a lot. And it needs to be talked about more, because I can only imagine the slave stories out there about that dynamic. So, you know.
And they also talked about how a lot of the men, like the male slaves, were forced to rape the women, sometimes their own relatives, in order to continue almost like a breeding farm, so they can have more slaves work the plantation. Because, you know, some when they get old and they die off, they still need the numbers to continue so they can keep the plantations going. Because, you know, if you don't have no slaves, you have no plantation. Like, everything that has been built will wither away and die, because they weren't going to work they weren't going to work the plantation. So they needed the numbers. That's actually where the term effort came from, because they would sometimes make the boys rape their mothers and produce children with their own mothers. Like, I was reading somewhere, they would put like a not a bag, but like something over their face, and then just guide them to whoever was there. And they sometimes never knew that they were actually having sex with their mother or their sister or their aunt or whoever it was. It was for them, anyone who had a vagina and can give birth. Hey, that's what it was.
That's what it was. That's what it was. It's just, you know, even when you think you know it all, you really don't. You know, you really don't know the lengths they went through to torture us, to keep us in this, you know, predicament. Like, you are going to be our slave forever and ever and ever. Your kids are going to be our slaves. It's just going to keep going and going and going, you know. And they would, even once there was supposed to be no more slavery, we still had things they did, Jim Crow laws and all this kind of stuff, and just subjugating our people, no matter where we were in this country during whatever time frame it was. It's just, it's wild. It's wild.
And also one thing they touched on was how they would, and this goes back to the academy, and this is the part of the academy that many of us don't like. And it talked about when they would take people we held as heroes, like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and put these labels on them, like saying that Malcolm X was at least bisexual or anything or stuff like that, or, you know, talking about Martin Luther King being a womanizer. A lot of that stuff came from them, you know, and propaganda that they put out there. So they talked about that in that aspect. Then they got on Bayard Rustin. I'm so glad they went in on Bayard Rustin, because the people over in the academy like to hold up Bayard Rustin like he was this all-seeing being, like he was like someone to be praised and worshipped. I'm like, that guy was an agent.
Right.
He had an agenda. He had a whole agenda. He was literally like BLM before BLM was even a thing.
We should just use his initials, right?
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, what they do is they try to make our heroes the villains and the villains the heroes. That's what they're doing.
Exactly.
You know,
and of course, Bayard Rustin was later with a white man, so, you know, that's par for the course.
Right, compromise. So what help was he to the struggle? You know, that's why I'm so glad that we have we're our own machine, and we're going to be that machine that fights back against the propaganda, the lies, and, you know, I love the part about the feminism. How feminism
I was getting ready to talk about that in that Agent Gloria Steinem. I'll let you touch on that.
Well, no, I just really enjoyed that part, how feminism was basically used to break up the Black family, you know, on the heels of the civil rights movement. And, you know, we had, Michelle Wallace, who wrote that book about Black men being macho, and you know, you had Steinem come out and basically just parade that book around and say, this is the truth, this is what y'all should be listening to, and all of that.
Yeah,
is
but I did like that part. But I did like that part. And shout out to
Mhm.
Erica Lachey. I love her. She
Yes.
was she spoke, like, she really broke that part down about like how black women did not need to be in feminism. Feminism wasn't for them, because like they were talking about how feminism started, and then of course where it's now more like with third wave feminism, and it's like it's just out of control and everything
Right.
of that nature. That was a form of buck breaking for women.
Right. Right.
That feminism was a form of buck breaking for the women, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes. It really was. And that, I mean, you just think of all the ways, the things they came up with, COINTELPRO, feminism, um, Jim Crow, all these things, these not plans, but you know what I'm saying, operations,
Yeah.
then you have the crack epidemic. All these things they do to us to make sure we stay at the bottom. Stay at the bottom. Don't you dare rise up. Don't you dare rise up. Stay at the bottom. And it's just like now this, butt breaking and how they mentally butt break us, not physically anymore, but mental chains. It's just, it blows your mind when you think about it. There is always something. It's always something to try to keep us down, because they know our history. They know the 400, 500-year struggle, what they did to us. And this is why they have to come up with these different ways and, plans and operations. And it's just like, y'all don't see this. The mainstream media, the propaganda, and that's another avenue. I think that if I were to say anything that could have been added more to that, maybe to butt breaking, is just media. How media, but they did touch on it. I don't want to say they didn't, but I think there needs to be a documentary about media and how media literally shapes people's minds, and it brainwashes people when it's not truthful. Misinformation.
I used to always laugh back in the day when you had the old folks call the TV the idiot box. I always thought that was funny. But then you, of course, like, you fast forward today. I rarely turn my TV on nowadays. Like, a lot of the times, the stuff that I get, the stuff that I talk about on here comes from social media.
Yes.
Like, I can't even remember the last time I watched a news program. So, it's like my TV is there. And the thing is, when I was younger, my TV used to be hot, but now it's more cold. But, it is what it is, but it just shows you the changing of the times and like how people consume and where they consume their media from.
Right. I think the mass mainstream media, that has to be something that, I want to say there has been things like little specials and maybe some documentaries, but from our perspective as Black people, it's something I would possibly like to do, because I just see, no matter what it is, you see the propaganda, you see the lies, you see what they do to our people on a daily basis with this media, this medium, and how it's so important that we're fighting back against it, because I'm just tired of people being lied to constantly. It is it's another tactic of their warfare, and it's something that has to be exposed constantly. Although I think people are now starting to wake up to that. This is why you have us out here. We're getting more and more subscribers daily, because they say something ain't right here. I don't want to go to the same 4 main networks and they're all having their talking heads saying the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So something has to give.
Exactly. Like, people know exactly. And the thing is, sometimes you can even look at people who are more well known, have, maybe like public figures, anything like that. You can hear some of their talking points.
Right.
And you can say, that sounds like something that you would say, or something I would say, or something Professor Black Truth would say, or Jason Black or Tariq would say, or anyone else in this space would say. And I was like, yep, they be watching us. They are watching us. They probably don't say that they're watching us, maybe to protect us. And if that is the case, I definitely applaud them for doing that, because they know that our voices are definitely needed. And that's why a lot of people are gravitating lately to what Kwame Brown has been doing, because like you said on your Twitter post, it has been so long since a black man has actually really spoke his mind unapologetically and literally has people coming out making apologies to him. He already had Charlemagne make an apology to him.
Yeah.
Steven Jackson made an apology to him. I want to see what Stephen A. Smith got to say.
Right. See, this is the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Were you finished? I hate to cut you off.
I was done.
Okay. This is the time. I think that we're in a time where people feel like they're being suppressed, especially black men. They feel like, we have all these different things, daggers coming at us. And I think now this is the time. If you want to rise up and speak out, I think this is the perfect opportunity. And I think surprisingly, you will have a lot of support. It may not seem like it when you get on Twitter and you see all the idiots on there, but there are a lot of people who agree with you, who say enough is enough. We need to stand up, take back your manhood, be leaders. It's okay. Sitting up here acting like Dwayne Wade, that ain't gonna get you nowhere, but at the back of the bus. So it's time that we see more black men not be afraid to stand up, and they're out there. We have our new black media personalities out here that are doing that. But now it's time for more black men to stand up. There's some things Kwame Brown has said, I'm like, but for the most part, when he first came out, he was on point. He was definitely on point about the Stephen A's and the Jamel Hills and all these, agendas that these folks have. They're given their scripts to get out there and say on a daily basis, and we're just supposed to go along and get along. And I'm like, no. A lot of us are not going to go along and get along. We're sick of it. I'm sick of it. And I'm not even a man, and I'm sick of it. So I know that the time is up. We got to stand up and fight back. I'm tired of this just sitting back and letting these people just run amok.
Yeah. It's actually a video that I have coming up about this rapper named Charleston White, who literally went at these Asians who are Crips out in Los Angeles because there was a story that somebody sent me asking, or the Asian community, well, they were mad about why they felt that they could not say the N-word. And he went on a 15-minute tirade about why they couldn't. When I said that he went, when he went in, I had to kind of sit back in my chair because I couldn't even believe that he actually said what he said. But he said it so unapologetically, but also gave historical facts and everything like that. Because, they were saying how, we grew up around black people and everything like that. And when the interviewer who was talking to him had mentioned that, the first thing that came out of his mouth, and I'm sorry to be vulgar, he said, "Did they come out of a black pussy?" And when he said that, I was like, he got a point. Because it's one thing to say that, okay, I grew up around certain people, I'm in a certain type of environment, I like the culture and everything like that. But then it's another where you are in that environment to the point where you have gotten so entrenched in it that you believe you are them.
Right. When you're really not. It's kind of like the same thing with, I kind of compare that to Candace Owens. It's like, you think they're paying her to be their flunky, their bullhorn, so they don't have to come out and say it and deal with it. So they'll find types like her. Every blue moon, Candace may say something that's on point, but for the majority of what she says, it's we know it's divisive. It's meant to dehumanize black people. It's not meant to uplift us for none of it. So I'm just, it just comes to a point to where we have to. There used to be a time I would get annoyed with her, but I'm like, I know she's for a reason. She's there for a reason. They have her as another form of propaganda. So we have to know how to tell the difference between someone who is just there for propaganda, hits, views, and someone who is for real, and about it. And we know who's for real, and who's a machine or helping the machine, I should say.
She's something. But she definitely gonna get hers, and that's going to be the day. Listen, black people might throw a whole parade in the street. Wouldn't it be something that she got hers on Juneteenth? That would be something. That would be so interesting.
Right. It's only a matter of time. I mean, they're gonna get sick of her eventually.
Yeah, but yeah,
So yeah,
she's a lost cause. Now that's someone who's been buck broken.
I'm telling you,
That's someone who has been buck broken at its core.
at its core, and it's such a shame. Just imagine if I think I did a video. Yeah, I did a video about her some months back, and I just said, imagine if Candace Owens was for us, was on our side.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine just how effective she would be.
Exactly.
Of course, she wouldn't have the money. She probably wouldn't even have the notoriety. But imagine
Mm-hmm.
how effective she could be for
Mm-hmm.
someone, for us, someone like us,
Yeah,
in the B1 crowd.
exactly.
She
Yeah.
could be up there with, up there or even higher. I could see her up there with Vicky Dillard. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, but she chose the other side. So
Mm-hmm.
she sold out. So
Like literally and figuratively, like she has given her entire being to
yes,
that
to these
side.
people.
And the thing
Right.
is, like someone said in the chat, she's a grifter, so she has to maintain
Right.
her griftiness in order to maintain. And a person who's the male version of her, well, his name I know his real name, but I call him Brandon Faker.
Yeah.
That for sure is the male version of her
Hmm.
all the
Hmm.
way.
Yeah. It's such a shame. It is such a
Mm,
shame. You just shake your head and be like, what a waste. But
exactly.
we know that they are paying them well to do that. A lot of
Hmm.
this goes back to economics, money. We make what we can, but
Hmm.
we're definitely not probably making what they're making. But
Right.
it just goes to show you how some are willing to sell out, um, just so they can be on that level, they think. But when it's all said and done, they're just going to yank the rug from underneath them, and then who are you going to go to? Ask Staci Dash. Who are you going to who are you going to run
Oh
to?
yeah. Oh yes.
No.
Stacy Trash Bag Dash. My
Yep.
goodness.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that chick. She's hell on wheels. But she got what she deserves. So that's why she's at this point. Her bug breaking status is complete. Like she went through the whole thing. Like she's done. Like I
Hmm.
don't expect to hear any much more about Stacy Dash anymore.
Right. Right.
None.
Like I
Well,
said, they know
yeah.
they're wrong when they do this stuff, but they have another agenda in mind. That's money.
Hmm. Exactly. One other thing I wanted to mention was the when they was talking about BLM and how they
Hmm.
have literally because BLM, like that part right there took a good chunk of the last portion of the documentary where they
Right.
were talking about how the infiltration of it
Hmm.
from the academy at its core, because they were basically
Hmm.
talking about how people in the academy are saying that um they were trying to compare our struggle with their struggle, or trying to
Right.
make it seem like they were parallel with each other, and that's why we should be more open to them
Hmm.
and everything like that. I said, I see what they trying to do. I see it's not going to work. That little Jedi mind trick ain't going to work. But I see exactly what they're trying to do.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's just like to come in and take over, completely change the narrative, and that's what happened. Because I feel like initially when BLM started, wasn't it initially about Trayvon Martin?
Yeah,
And then it just kept changing and changing and changing. And then for it, the whole slogan meant something totally different. And
yeah.
then
It
you
got
have
it
different
got
entities.
bastardized.
Right, right. You have different entities come in and just change it up. We're gonna flip it to this, we're gonna flip it to all Black Lives Matter. And it's just like, wait a minute. We shouldn't have to say all, we shouldn't have to say it became like all lives matter. They basically all lives matter, Black Lives Matter. Does that make sense?
No.
How you gonna all lives, Black Lives Matter?
Mm,
If we say Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. If you're Black and we're saying, we're tired of it, we're tired of feeling like we're being oppressed and attacked, that means you too.
exactly.
And then that's when you knew it was done with. It wasn't truly about Black lives, but
And then
something else.
yeah, and all you had to do was go look on their website. Like they literally told you they were against the nuclear family. Like
Right.
it said it right there. And then now I don't know if you've seen. I'll understand if you haven't. I didn't see
Yeah.
it, but I saw it in a screenshot. Where now on their website, when they're talking about their so-called tangibles, which isn't anything, dealing with Black people, it has nothing up there of dealing with what we considered to be true tangibles. Like it's almost like you're talking to people who are tone deaf. And then you had what came out about their founder and all these properties that she owns. Like 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 they literally like but you know what, I'm so glad they found that stuff about her, and it's so interesting. One of the properties that she buys, she gets around a bunch of white people. She said, I'm already done my work. I'm not trying to be around you niggas no more. And then she got all this property in the midst of not only a pandemic last year, but also around what was going on with George Floyd. So it's like, where did you find all the time to do all of this? And then people, of course, was questioning about the money. It was like, where did the money come from? You had some people out there try to make excuses for her, but they all fell on deaf ears. So,
yeah, it just became a joke. It became a complete joke. And like you were talking about on the website, how when they initially had it up, it was about, we don't believe in the what's the word?
The nuclear family.
Nuclear family. We don't believe in that. We're about breaking down patriarchy and all this stuff. You're like, so basically all lives don't matter. All Black lives don't matter then. All Black lives don't matter if you're doing that, because yes, there are still Black families that have men that lead. Okay. So no, all Black lives don't matter if you're trying to X out the Black man and the Black family. So this is why this organization, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's not about Black lives.
A running joke at that.
It's crazy to me. This is crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
But did you have anything else you wanted to add? Because I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, you know what? I just want to say I loved it. I still have 25 minutes ish to like finish it up. From what I've seen, I think Tariq did a fantastic job. All the people that were involved, they all did great. Brother Rizza was awesome. Awesome to see him speak. I love seeing him speak. All of them. Yeah. All of them were just great. Dr. Randy Short. I just loved it all. I gotta reach out to him because I've been wanting him to come on my platform as well. But I thought they all did a fantastic job. And what's the preacher? He was in there.
Swan.
Yes. He did really good, especially talking about the whole toxic masculinity and how they're using that against, Black men and Black boys today. That was very important to highlight, which is so true. So true. There's nothing toxic about being a heterosexual Black man with testosterone. That is what you were born as. That is your natural body. You should never be ashamed of that. And that's something we have to push back against as well. Enough is enough. It was great. I'm going to actually get some more copies to give out to people who don't have it. I think it's just that vital. So this may be Tariq's thriller.
Right.
Shout out to Tariq. This is your thriller, brother. So I'm going to get a couple of copies and send them to different ones that don't have it, because it's just that vital. That vital.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
So all the people that's in the chat, if y'all have not watched Buckbreaking yet, I highly suggest that you do watch it as soon as possible, and y'all can have discussions with whoever it is that y'all want to, talk to. Like, this is a good family documentary more than anything. Like, if you have family members that sit down and watch it with your family, like I said, it's for anybody to really watch and consume the information that is being put out there. Don't be scared because of the title. To the people that's in the academy, don't be offended because it says Buckbreaking. It's just when we say that this entire documentary is not all about you. It is not a academy bashing documentary in any form. You might actually learn something out of this that you didn't even know.
Right.
Especially since I've heard stories coming from people who are Black who are in the academy say the racism that they dealt with, from the white people that's in there, because they talk about that in there too as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I say everyone should watch this. I don't care if you're gay, straight, trans. Everyone should watch it. You should know the history. There's nothing wrong with knowing the history, especially when it comes to Black society, foundational Black Americans. You have to know the history. I don't care if you think you're a tree, them, they, whoever you are, you need to watch it. It's that important. Everyone needs to watch it. You need to get a sense of where you come from. You need to get a sense of how these people did us and how they came to be. It's very important. Very
Most
important.
definitely.
So, yeah. Highly recommend it. 5 stars across the board. I'm going to go leave a review for Tariq. Make sure to do that as well. High remarks on Amazon. Is it IMDb? There, Rotten Tomatoes. We need to give this documentary 5 stars, 10 stars, whatever it is, the highest you can go, because we have to push back. We have to tell them, no, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. So, yeah.
Exactly. But yeah. But with that being said, I definitely appreciate you coming onto my platform today. This is actually the most views I think I've had at one time. So you brought you brought some people, you brought some viewers in. But it's always a pleasure to talk to you whenever I can. And I think another reason I did this is because I remember you had wanted me to come onto your live stream a while back, but I couldn't. And I said, you know what, let me do it this way and have her come on to mine, because you haven't been on mine yet. So I'm always on yours. So I figured, let's switch it up a little bit. But I like when we have these discussions, whether it's some this or just random topics, because the conversations always flow and it's always good discussion to see, a meeting of the minds.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I said, let's go on your channel, because you've been on mine quite a bit. So I wanted to come on yours. And if you haven't subscribed to me, if you're not a subscriber, I'm at Nicoles View on YouTube. I'm at Black Liberation, BLK Liberation 84 on Twitter. I am on Facebook, Nicoles View, and I'm also on Instagram. I think it's like NV_ and then blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you can find me. You can find all my information. If you go to like my YouTube channel and click on like my latest live stream, go in the comment section, you'll see all my, where you can follow me and all that stuff. So yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope everyone in the chat enjoys the rest of their day. Of course, those of you who follow me and watch me and know that I do live streams every single Friday, know that I will not be going live this particular Friday. I will be out of town this weekend. Then I'll be back with the regular schedule live streams next Friday. And of course, keep your eyes tuned to my regular channel for those commentaries as well. All right. So we out.
Bye. Peace. See y'all.